Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
It's going to put me on hold because you're going to want to talk to him. Just hit the button that says merge call. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, episode number 297. Talk amongst yourselves. We're getting this live show up and running.
Do you want to? I can go on a rant for a minute if you want. It might make you nervous.
I wanted to hit on something. This is the biggest news going right now.
Okay.
I saw the release. Poison, Motley Crue, Def Leppard on tour together.
I am there.
Right?
I am there, dude. Yeah, Motley Crue's being inundated with all the new crew heads. So, well, Chris works on our phone calls. What I want to touch on, and hopefully Chris can hear this before we get on the phone with Chicken and Chad. So 2 weeks ago, we had Blizzard Bash.
That's awesome. Moving on.
And this week, there was the team show in Vegas. Now, we've talked about this before and even talked about it a little bit on air. For whatever reason, Demolition Derby tends to tear itself apart from the inside out. So there's a big post on after the first night of Vegas, how great Vegas is and how it's going to be the death of Blizzard Bash. And then, people get on to support Blizzard Bash and they go back and forth trying to tear down each other's derbies. Mm-hmm. And I don't get why fans would want to do that. Why would any derby fans want a giant indoor show, the level of prestige like Blizzard Bash, to go away? Mm-hmm. And why would any derby fans want a new derby, on basically the West Coast in Las Vegas,
in a fantastic city,
to go away? Like, how come we're so against derby as a whole improving?
Have you ever been to a local dirt track?
I mean, it doesn't.
Have you ever been to a NASCAR race?
It's so frustrating, though. Like, I literally went through and read all the comments, and I was going to answer, and I'm like, you know what? It's just not a good thing to do right now. But it's so, okay, so right now, Ohio to
California?
Topeka, Kansas.
Okay.
Smash is kind of running the big stuff.
Sure.
The gentleman that took over for DI. I can't think of his name. If anybody wants to send it in to Chris, I'll get it in. Off the top of my head,
I can't remember it either. But Derby Icons.
Derby Icons. He has done it, second year in, things are improving for him. Things are getting better. Mm-hmm. So, he's holding his own. So we have, two very good promoters that are kind of taking care of the middle of the country. Utah to Vegas, Stirring Dirt's doing some pretty awesome stuff.
And they're reaching up north now, too.
Yeah, so, how come we can't have all this good stuff going on for Derby and everybody be happy?
Never.
Hopefully, eventually, we'll get, we got some, good promoters in New York. Jeremy and crew are kind of expanding. Brett's got the King's Old School. How cool would it be if we had great derby promoters and derbies from New York to Vegas and everybody could be happy? Like, wouldn't that be a bonus? I mean, am I hoping for too much, Chris?
I don't know. It's the holiday season. Maybe hearts will soften.
I mean, look at this. Christmas trees. No. Come on, look at Merry Christmas trees.
I don't know.
I mean, it was so frustrating to read that. I mean, why would a derby fan want a derby to fail? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Everybody's got their fans.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a lot of it. I know the guys from Pennsylvania and New York, Brett and crew and Pete, and they went out and won their side of the bracket. Bando and his crew on the other side of the bracket. From the pictures of the cars, they must have knew some hitting because everything looked like it was junk. But it's frustrating. How about instead of tearing each other apart, we pick each other up and let's try to grow and make things better. But That's my rant. On to Chris. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
It was a tough one to juggle some of that stuff, because I know Josh was in the same boat. We talked while he was out there and while he was on air. I mean, sorry if I disappointed anybody, but we talk on a regular basis, and it's such a bizarre thing to get the go take a bath with the toaster messages in live action. You know, you're flying through trying to cover all the bases, but it is what it is. We got a good show to cover. We're going to be doing 2 weeks of Blizzard Bash recap, because we've got a whole bunch of team stuff to get through. And then also we put the messages out to Pete Hansen and Brett Relier about coming up in studio next week, so that we can get the Sin City Showdown coverage out there. I saw Sam Bando picked up a win out there. They made the changes to the track, so everything had improved through the course of the weekend. It was good to see Chance Smith running with Pete Hansen and Brett Relier and Corey Roman out there. They're picking up the win. We're tabling that. We're going to get to it next week, because we're going to focus on the team stuff from the national bracket and the compact bracket this week, and then move ahead into the limited world bracket and the qualifying bracket next week for Blizzard Bash. And I'll explain it why before everybody starts losing their mind. Happy birthday, by the way, Chris Lancaster and Dustin Anderson. I apologize for missing that at the start of the show. The reason why is because if we interview each member of the team individually, it ends up being the same. And if we've got the opportunity to get them on together the way that we've got some of these guys tonight, they kind of play off each other, and we get some different opinions. And I'd rather do that. You know, it's really tough to put a team captain in the position where, do you want to come on, or do you want to pick somebody to come on? And you know, it's a team derby, and we want to give everybody the chance to have the recognition that they got. And if it breaks from tradition, we're trying to make everybody happy. So,
and not everybody's ever going to be happy. So I'm sure there'll be complaints.
we do the best we can.
Out we go.
So first and foremost, with Team Kansas, I still can't. Kansylvania. This is the first team win for Team Kansylvania. It's the third time that these guys have won the national championship, which is phenomenal. We've got two guys from the team joining us tonight: Justin Montgomery, Chicken Man in the Y2K, and then Chad Markley joining us as well. You guys are the first individuals to win Blizzard Bash 3 times. That is quite the accomplishment, and you've done it in a course of like 5 years. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we took one of those years off because of our friend Sam.
Right. I forgot about that.
That didn't tell you say it like that, but I mean that kind of sends some shivers down my spine. That I guess it still hasn't sunk in, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 starts, and it's pretty spectacular. When it took up until 2017, it took 7 or 8 runnings before we even got a repeat team champion. We had a couple repeat individuals in there. Nick Erlacher was one of the first ones to get it, being that he won in 2009 and then won a couple years into that as part of Team Kansas. But I mean, has it sunk in yet to that point? You know, to defend home turf 3 times is pretty special on a stage like this.
The special part is being in state. I mean, we got a lot of people that travel. Chicken and I are both only an hour and a half to 2 hours away, so there's a lot of people in the stands putting a lot of pressure on us. And we got a lot of help too. I was thinking today earlier what to talk about and everything, and like what's kind of cool about the whole Derby, pretty much community comes around and helps us at this show. I was thinking about some of Chad's shows that he's put on this year. You have these guys just going at it, just hard hitting each other, and they all come together and you look in our pits and they're all working on our cars, helping each other together. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. You think about it, and just the support we get is just amazing. And most of them don't like me the day of my own shows because I'm making them cut stuff and they're arguing with me, but they show up to Blizzard to help. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
On the way back to the airport, I left Sunday night trying to beat the weather and failed miserably at that as well. So I was well-rounded through the weekend. It took 27 hours to get back from Kansas City back to New York, but I saw a car going through the toll booth, and I got up on it, and it was the Y2K.
Nice.
And all the cars in front of me that went past this hulking wreck hit the brakes and slowed down and went by it and took a stare when they went by. And
That's awesome.
I'll be honest, Justin, I stopped for like a split second to identify that it was you, and I kept on going because I already know what that car was up to, and that's what $10,000 looks like, and I wanted to get to the airport.
Yeah, it's funny. But no, and like, you know, we owe it to our teammates too. I mean, we've been, you know, blessed with having awesome teammates to run with too that will run their car into the ground with Barry and Tom, like Kurt last year. Kurt's a hell of a wheel man, and you know, so you got to give them just as much credit because I mean, we wouldn't do as well obviously if it wasn't for them guys wheeling theirs, and they have just as much help in the pits as we do. Barry and Brent, you know, they're awesome people, have about our same morals, and they brought some guys in that even when they got done with their car, they jumped over and were helping us. So, I mean, just an awesome group of guys that make it all help or happen. So, couldn't do without them.
Barry Clemens ended up being recognized as team captain because there's the issues with the original Kansylvania group with Jimmy Johnson not running. They had to bring in they cycled through a couple extra drivers, but by shuffling who was captain of what, Kurt Gegg represented Team Kansas with Steve Siopa, Rhett Gluey, and PJ Schnarr joining them, and then Barry Clemens became the captain of Team Kansylvania, left over from last year, joining Chad Markley, Tom Gegg, and Justin Montgomery. So it's weird to have, I guess it's weird, it's not so weird that the name change, it didn't really affect the outcome overall in the scheme of things.
We were watching from home, and I mean, these guys are just so good. You know, we've been going to Kentucky or to Kansas, I mean, a lot, and you know, we've watched Chicken and Chad run. You know, Capital City Carnage, we've seen him run here, and these two guys nothing ever bothers them. I mean, they're just on their game plan. It don't matter what anybody else is doing. Both of these guys are on their game plan, and I mean, it's so awesome to watch. And I mean, you know, I'm sitting back there and watching, and they're kind of leaving both of them alone. And I'm like, man, that's probably not a good idea for the rest of the field when you leave, you know, Chad and Chicken alone, and their cars are holding up very well. And about halfway through, my buddy said, "Who do you think's going to win?" I said, "It's going to be awful hard to beat Kansylvania." I said, "They're you know, they're so good at what they do." And I mean, you know, at the end, it ended up being, you know, Bobby Whitaker there for second for, I don't know, the fourth or fifth time. You know, the cream really rises here. It really truly does. But I mean, these two guys are just, you know, it's a pleasure and it's fun to watch them run because they're so good. They don't make mistakes. Every hit's for a reason. You know, they're just so good at what they do. It's awesome to watch.
Sunday got over with a lot faster than I think a lot of people expected it to. The pace on Sunday's show was moving. Yeah. You know, all of the rounds, we started at noon and we were done by 4:30. That includes the time to clear the track off. Yep. You know, and some of those features are pretty well populated. Yeah. They were certainly going at it. Guys, you know, I guess for Chicken first, getting here had to be pretty special. I mean, when we talked back in March, there was some questions on whether you're even going to get a car together because you had the new baby on the way, and your child was able to welcome you down there in Victory Lane. Where's this one fall in terms of 3 wins at Blizzard Bash?
Oh, I mean, it was pretty awesome, and, you know, it's even that much more special to have him in, you know, a big group family picture down there that, you know, with everyone that helped out and our family and, you know, friends, pretty much extended family, and that made it that much more awesome. And as far as the build goes, I mean, we're a little behind, and I have to thank my wife because, like I said, she took care of everything in the house. And, of course, I mean, she was very vocal at times about me spending so much time out in the shop. But once you win, that kind of goes away a little bit. So that's even more motivation to win. I'll put it to that. But
At least for 7 months.
Yeah, to know, like, oh, yeah. And Jeremiah Faulkner, I mean, he pours probably more money into the car than I do, so I couldn't do it without him, and he helped out. He kind of built the frame while I was working on the body, and then we put it all together, and like normal, there's no time to spare, and get there, and, you know, then everybody helps make it happen in the pits. Adam Klein, stepped in, and he'd come on the weekends and when he couldn't help out, so, you know, it was a little more stressful because, too, you're sitting in there the late nights at the shop and missing out on little things, you know, like inside where he could be with the kid. But to me, I think to have him someday grow up and maybe he'll be smart and play golf or do something like that. But if he does Derby, I think he'll cherish that picture too, as much as I do someday. So
that's awesome. Now, Chicken, how old is your little boy?
5 months old.
5 months old.
5
and
months on the 21st. So, yeah.
By the look of the picture, he looks like he's already like 5'2". I mean, he's a big kid. Of course, Chicken's 6'4", 6'5", so he's gonna be big like his dad. But it was the look on your face when you were holding him in Victory Lane. That was pretty awesome, man. That was great to see.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of the specialest moments I've had, and especially being able to share it with all the family. And like Chad said, it puts much more pressure on us trying to. It's not just when we win, like that's not just for like me. I mean, it's everyone that helps us feels like they win too. So it puts that much more pressure on trying to win and just giving everyone else that satisfaction too. And that's kind of what helps drive us to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. I mean, never Demolition Derby, but in racing, my brother's won some real big races. And it's such a great feeling because it's the crew and the crew's family and the fans and everybody really feels like it's part of the win. And I mean, to do it there in your hometown. I mean, I remember when we won our first series race at our home track. I mean, we'd won a few others around, but when we finally did it at our home track with our own car, and that was special. The crowd was into it. It was so cool. I mean, for you guys to do it there and do it again, and again and again. It's your hometown. I mean, or close to hometown. That's really cool.
Chad, how about for you? When you look at what you've gone through over there, how tough is it to repeat and then to come up with that win again? At this point, it's not a secret, and you certainly didn't have an easy path there, having to go against the no-namers first and then a very game WRP.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a team that anybody wants to lock horns with.
No, they're
because
good.
They drive so fast and so hard. It's not anything that anybody wants any piece of.
No.
The WRP certainly was a force and very capable of moving into the A main.
Oh, yeah.
With a win over Kansylvania. Where's this one fall for you, Chad?
Well, they're all great. I mean, excuse me, I got a little bit of cold. I'm fighting too. So, the first one was great. I just don't even have words for the third one. I've been chasing big shows for my whole career, and to finally have it all come together where it has been awesome.
We were talking with Justin there about with his boy in Victory Lane, Brent Clemens, with little Addie at home and things like that. That was a tough one for Barry to be running through as well. I know that a couple times they tried to catch a couple words with him about that topic. There's the smashing for Addie signs around the facility and stuff. It was cool. It was cool to see, and I was real happy for him to, end up running with the C on his chest for this one, and then came away with the win. And it was good to see Brent down there. Brent was there with his boy. They had Power Wheels out there. So that was that was cool. But
Axel had a good time down there. It was good for them to get away and get their mind off of some things for a while, and
definitely,
and for the Derby community to pull together and give them a little bit of relief for whatever that's worth.
Definitely, no doubt.
Did you see? Tegan was down there.
I did not. I did not catch
Tegan
that.
down there, and
cool.
Officially cancer free.
Awesome.
All done with treatments, which was
that's
really
great.
good. So hopefully everybody was praying
That
for
was
him.
that's great that he is too. I mean, that was that year that's the first year we won when we had him on the hood and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty. And it's been kind of a rough year around our area for the Derby world. I mean, Chad lost. We did one of our really good friends that lost a son, and Chad even helped Chad out some of the derbies at Sydney Fisk, and awesome kids, and and then Jason Monty, one of our local guys that he'd run against us forever. We lost him, and he'd come up and he'd be one of the ones that would cheer for us there at Blizzard Bash, and then with Russ. I mean, it's been kind of a rough year for the Derby world, but. And I guess I sit there and have to thank the good old Lord too, because I mean, you look at kind of what Brent's going through, and our hearts are always out to him. I just think about that every day about, I'd much rather have bad luck in the Derby world than have to go through something like that. So, I mean, we just never can forget about what he's going through. And, Addie, I mean, she's an inspiration to everybody, just how strong she is. And it's pretty cool to see her pulling through all that. So,
yeah, tough little girl.
And then we got more bad news about RJ.
Yep.
I saw that.
RJ Messelheiser passing away, and they're doing all sorts of donations. We're going to put the link up on the show post on social media.
And that's really tough. He's real good friends with Dylan Kunkel, who obviously lost to friends last year in the airplane. And Dylan had the nice memorial on his car.
Everybody from Team Octane had their pictures on the car. Yeah, it was a tough moment. I just saw a post from about a day ago that WRP tie rod ends and Moog ball joints and weld sleeves all coming out. Kenny Rosno donating them. There's a custom-built TH400 that's going to be out there in addition to that being raffled off for them. GH Graphics, George Heinout putting a roof sign out there and trying to boost things for them. It's good to see. You don't see a group band together like Demolition Derby,
Yeah, that's we've touched on that so much.
A group that hates each other as much as we do when we get in the arena.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
But once the competitive side of us is over, we all have that human side and respect. I guess the respect for each other is tremendous because we know what we go through every week and every day that we're trying to build a car and getting our butt chewed from the other side because we're not doing other things we're supposed to do. And so we all, at the end of the day, kind of smile at each other and help each other any way we can.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we've touched on success you guys have had and all your runs out there. But, I mean, and it's kind of a, you guys have been in the feature out there, I believe, every year. When you pulled out on the track this year, did you still get that feeling of how big that show is? And I mean, just does it still grab you the way it first did when you started running the show? And I mean, does it still give you that special feeling when you pull out there?
For me, I mean, yeah, I mean that's just awesome. Especially too, I mean, I think kind of like what you're touching on earlier about the two different shows, and I completely agree with you. You should support both of them. I mean, that Vegas show's never going to be Blizzard Bash. I mean, it is what it is. I don't think you can top that type of show, and Blizzard Bash isn't ever going to be that Vegas show. I mean, they're both awesome in their own ways, but there's nothing can beat just pulling out of that tunnel and looking up in them stands and just seeing completely packed, and I'm just thinking, don't do nothing stupid where everyone's going to laugh at you, it's just amazing, and, it just, to me, the heats make me a lot more nervous than the feature, because I know the feature's going to be a little bit slower paced, but the heats are just like, I have to just keep calming myself down and just trying to drive it like a normal show, where
Sunday driving.
Yeah, like Chad was. No. but I mean, that's kind of how it is for me. And then the feature's like, once you make that A, because it's so hard to get there, then there's a big weight lifted off our shoulders where, okay, now we can just focus on our normal game and then get ready. But, I mean, the stressful part's getting there because, I mean, if you don't win them first two heats, I mean, it's, you guys obviously know it's so hard to get through it. Coming through that backside, I mean, You have to work your tail off.
That B feature gets tougher and tougher every year. I mean, my God, it was tough this year.
Yeah, very tough. Very tough.
It was rough. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, the 6 teams scheduled to go in that one. It was a rough one.
Yeah,
very rough.
And I mean, that's we've touched on it before. I wasn't there in person, but to me, the track looked harder and the pace looked faster. I mean, it looked like this year was really, really, I mean, I don't know. It looked like everything was faster this year. It looked like guys were hitting harder, and it was a great show.
It's taken them a lot of years to get that dirt right. I really feel like they've got it as close to perfect as they could get it. It was a it was a little on the fast side for my liking as safety wise as a promoter side of it, but as a driver, I mean, it was a lot of fun.
It was taking rubber in the heat. Which was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Sounded like we were rolling wheels.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Chad, I hypothetically, I mean, I got to think you guys are probably going to go back next year and, defend the title. I mean, you're going to be able to find another wagon for the title defense? I mean, you do all right with those wagons.
Funny you should ask. I just pulled 2 of them home yesterday and today, and 1 more to pick up tomorrow.
Well, good. I'd hate for you not to have a wagon for Blizzard Bash.
I don't know where he's finding them, but
oh goodness,
that extra money helps them come out of the woodwork, I guess.
Yeah, I know. So we know that the check for Blizzard Bash cleared, and the other question is, what are you going to do with the last $200?
Oh no, I'm cheap. I can't pay that much for wagons.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I don't know about cheap, but I know that he builds most of his own stuff, and there's a lot of talent in that. We were discussing that with my buddy's house watching, and I said, one of the first times I ever talked with Chad, we were standing there, and I don't remember what the car was, but he was going through and like naming off parts that you had to put onto this one car to make it tougher, and like the knowledge that these guys have from all these years of running, it's just so impressive. I mean, to know what it takes to make this car stronger and better, and, all within the rules, and it's awesome. I mean, this is definitely a show. If you're ever going to go somewhere once, this would be the one to go.
You said all within the rules. It's all within the rules. Rules somewhere.
Well, yeah.
Always in the rules. I probably have the smallest cut sheet there.
Yeah, I'd believe that.
Yeah, they didn't find it all. I'm just kidding. No, with them inspectors, I mean, my heart has to go out to them, too. I mean, they're a little behind. We, a lot behind, but I think they're in a real tough situation there, and we understand that completely. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, but I think, lo and behold, they got everything pretty much right and tried to work with everyone they could, and I think, it all worked out. But I think, next year going back in there, we kind of know, well, now they're really putting their foot down, because, I mean, the show was getting kind of out of hand on what are we going to have to do this year to have to, try to compete, because, I mean, it's just the builds are getting so crazy. I don't think if you look, the rules haven't changed that much, but you just look at the caliber of cars, and it's kind of crazy if you go back and watch all the videos, and that's just because people think, that's what they're having to do to compete, so, I mean, it's fun at a point to build that way, but then again, there's kind of got to be a point where it's got to stop or it's going to start ruining the show. I don't know. Yeah, I like to call it the snowball effect. So we have the benefit of being there from day one. So first year we find 3 little things that somebody else got in with, so we do that, and then we do 3 more. Then next year we find 5 more things, and we do that, and 10 more. And so now we're up to year 10, and we've got 100 little things we know can get in, and the other guys that's been there know it can get in. So then you take the qualifying guys that are trying to come in and compete, and they're great builders, great drivers, but they get an eye-opening when they come around our cars or whatnot, because there's just all those little things that are within the rules, but really, are the gray area stuff that just the other teams are behind the curve.
Sure. And that's the thing, I was I was talking with a friend of ours up here that went out and ran in Vegas. And I mean, he's had a very successful career here in New York and, Pennsylvania and stuff. And, that's what he said. He's like, I'm way behind the curve on building because he hasn't run a lot of the big shows like that. And I said, yeah, to a point, yes, but, he's also an excellent driver. I said, your driving is going to help. But I mean, that's the thing is, that's how guys keep improving is they keep going back and they learn from year to year to year. And I mean, that's one thing I've noticed is all the classes, everybody's driving, everybody's building. Every year it's progressing, and everything's from the one and dones, to the national bracket. Everything has improved from year to year. I mean, it's just getting to become such a great derby, top to bottom. It's really, really, a great show.
I thought, it was one of the best shows. Of course, I guess it's biased. You always think it's great if you win, but I thought, it was an awesome show this year. I mean, Thursday night we looked in the stands, and I've never seen that many people there on a Thursday night.
I know.
And
Yeah.
you know, and Tim, I think I looked, and I didn't get into the Limited Well on Capital Carnage because I didn't really think much of it. And I looked, and everything's full on there. So thinking, geez, so I mean, Tim's must, you know, they're doing stuff right, especially, you know, getting everything filled back up.
Absolutely.
But I think he just needs to keep doing what he's doing because it's working.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
But
No doubt.
Well, and it's never ever the driver's fault for trying to push the rules.
No.
It's always, you know, for whatever reason, no matter what show you go to. I'm not speaking of Blizzard, but any show, if you let it get in, you know, that's bad on the promoter side, and you don't catch everything, but you can't ever blame the driver till you set that standard so high that they know not to push it, and we just haven't had that yet. And I think they tried to prove it this year. And I mean, the inspection took long. Yeah, did every car get as much as the cars that needed to be looked at that long? Pretty damn near, because it took us 28 hours past our inspection time to get the final stick.
Jeez. That was a while.
Wow.
Jason Koch was in line, and I think the first heat was pulling out on the track.
Really?
Yeah, they were definitely behind. But I mean, it's like they were saying, you know, if there's 100 little things that you got to catch on every single car, you got to go through and make sure you catch them. You know, but so on the team side of things, NLR Derby Parts Compacts, it was Minnesota Mattis, Jared Fisher, Nate Middendorf, Mike Cook, Andy Oxa running together on that group. They came up with a win on the compact. A-Main, Caddy Nation, Trey Hewer, Rob Hewer, Teddy Papadopoulos running as a team of three in that one. Caddy Nation winning the Chambliss Welding Team A-Main. On the qualifying side of things, Heavy D ended up coming out on top, and Heavy D and Team Busch Light are going to be moving into the national bracket, which is cool. Heavy D, Jason Bernstein, Justin Bernstein, John Haas, and Corey Peterson. And then moving into the bracket again, Cheesy, Mike Worth, Craig Birkenpass, and Corey Nias in Team Busch Light. And
I really didn't want to see them guys come back. Them guys drive super hard.
Yeah, they do. They get after it.
I don't think you're alone. Especially they got Mike Worth on there, which is just making things even more challenging. And as we said, Team Kansylvania, the group of Tom Gegg, Barry Clemens, Chad Markley, Justin Montgomery coming over with the Team A-Main win there. Guys, appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anybody else that you wanted to make mention of?
Oh, I'd like to thank, I didn't mention my mom earlier. She does a ton, too, for me. And then Jeremiah Faulkner, Adam Klein Oil, and we got LaGrune Auto, and then just anyone that stops and helps, in the pits, just everybody, my wife, her family, my in-laws. I mean, they bring their motorhome down, and we get to stay in it. It's pretty nice. They help a ton out, too, anything we ever need, and brother-in-law. So, I mean, just everybody that helps out. I mean, this win is just as much of theirs as it is mine. My name's just on the car. I mean, I couldn't do without any of them, so I just want to thank all them on my part. So,
very cool.
Awesome.
Well, I always want to thank my cradle builder, MDI Cradles. We've put them in the victory lane multiple times. Chicken and I run them, and Barry also runs them, and our front ends don't wiggle too much with those under the hood, so that's always a plus. I've got a great crew in the shop, Todd and Bean, Blaze. Then I got a hell of a crew that shows up at the track. They do wonders when we're out there in the pits. I don't have to second guess what they're doing. They do everything we need to do.
You don't want to be like at Spring X when they interviewed you, when they asked, Chad Markley, who'd you like to thank? And you're like, I'd like to thank myself. Well, that was, I didn't mean it that way. And of course, there's always guys at the shop, and other than Todd coming in and throwing all my food and beer on the ground out of my refrigerator right now. So he's not much for getting beer and food out of the fridge, I guess, but he's a hell on building cars and tires and everything. So there's always Levi and Shane and everybody and Casey that show up at the Derby, and other nephews that do everything in their power to get me to the arena.
Awesome. Well, guys,
it's hard to remember everybody. There's so many people that help. So if we forgot anyone, I don't take it personally.
But we just had a crash at the refrigerator, though. But I think it'll be all right. We don't drink bottled beers at the shop.
Well, if they had an MD8 cryo in them, they wouldn't bend, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
Well, guys, again, congratulations. Always good to have you on the show, and keep up the good work. The team shirts this year, Shayla just messaged me. The team shirts had all the teams on it from the inception of Team Kansas and all the quartets, which were really cool to see.
We did. We thought it'd be a cool tribute to everybody that helped make Team Kansas or Kansylvania through the years. So we put all 10 years of people that had ran with us, and even the people that didn't show up, we put on there. You know, not saying anything about Jimmy, but you know what I mean.
Poor Uncle Jimmy.
Poor guy. Well, by all means, man, we look forward to seeing you again here when we get back out to Kansas. If you make the trip up for Capital City Carnage, and congratulations again.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys, and prayers to Addie out there. Everyone keep her in your thoughts. So, but all right, see you later.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you later. I don't think there's anybody out there that won't second that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Other winners in the standalone class is Bone Stock. It was with the Kish boys running the show there. It was Daniel Kish coming away with the win in the standalone in the 80s Bone Stock. Kyle Reynolds came up with a win in the Postal Mopar Trucks Bone Stocks. I love that Ski Inc. is the presenting sponsor on the Bone Stocks. It's always entertaining. Postal Mopar Limited Weld. It was Corey Schmidt coming away with the win in that one. Corey Schmidt winning, and then the Ski Inc. Modifieds. Junior Hammond won in that one. That was a very entertaining round of action, to say the least.
I like the changes they made to the trucks. They weren't the heavy builds that we kind of got used to seeing out there. I like that they were a little more
what?
Bendable. They bend
bendable.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of the Winter Slam guys had brought limited weld trucks down, and that's
cool.
That's their stuff right there.
Yeah, they like that stuff.
It's Chris. You got anybody? Okay. Awesome. All right. So shifting gears, we're going to come back around and we're going to hit the Capital City Carnage stuff. At the end of it, we've got Team Minnesota Madness. Well, that didn't fit, did it? That's no good. We're going to change that up. Hopefully that'll fit now. There it goes. Didn't save it. Team Minnesota Madness joining us on the phone. We've got all four members, actually. Jared Fisher, Nate Middendorf, Mike Cook, and Andy Oxa joining us to talk a little bit about their win. I mean, backing up what you guys were able to do at Capital City Carnage in the spring, it had to be a rewarding win on the compact side.
Yes, it was.
Take me through it. It certainly wasn't an easy one, but you had three cars running there at the end, and you're able to end up pinning in that last Team A-Right car. It was Blake Holtz that was the last car running, and A-Right kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was pretty much following Holtz around the entire time. His car was lipping around pretty good, but I wasn't expecting him to make it that far to the end.
Tell me a little bit about what this means. I mean, you guys have been there for a little while and gradually improved. You hit on something with the Camaros a couple years ago, came away with a win at Capital City Carnage, and you were certainly a force the year prior to pick up the win in the compact team bracket, and now here we are celebrating a win.
Nate, that's all you.
It means that we're actually doing something right once. So it's a gratifying feeling that both those trophies are staying at my house right now for the same year and everything. It's just the feeling that it won't ever go away.
It's now 4 years consecutive without a repeat winner on the compact side of things, and it's been a very difficult bracket to gauge.
Oh, yeah.
The Woods and Team OMM winning the first year, and then it was Team A2S coming away with the win in 2017. Last year, the compact Cadillacs, which have been heavy favorites the last couple of years, and now compact Cadillacs weren't nearly as formidable this year. Just luck wasn't on their side, and luck is such a big part of things.
Oh, yeah.
At Blizzard Bash, how much was luck on your side that made this one happen?
I
I would say that luck was, well, in Derby, luck is a big part of it, but as long as you cross your I's and dot your T's, you're pretty well set.
You make your own luck with preparation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've
Derbies
seen
are one in the garage.
Derbies are one in the garage.
But I mean, we've seen these guys put on great runs in Topeka numerous times. I mean, we've seen them do well at Carnage and at Blizzard Bash. So, I mean, it wasn't, they've been right there knocking on the door, and this was the year they, everything went right for them, and it's not like it's a surprise. I mean, they've built a lot of tough cars, and like I said, we've seen them do well before, so. They were due. I mean, they kind of got the monkey off their back a little bit, and now they get to go back next year and defend the title.
It's one of the hard things about the team bracket is you end up talking about teams that are due. The list of teams that are due is populated a lot more deeply than the list of teams that have won.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
The SAF guys, Randy Wislowski was out there, Jeremiah Adams, Jimmy Sonic, Corey Peterson. Those guys got a lot of attention. Team A2S, they were a little bit late to the party. They were running a man down, so they sort of waited for their opportunity to strike. And when they ventured out of their corner and started to attack, the complexion of the feature changed. The pace definitely picked up. Mm-hmm. But you guys seem to handle that change in the pace pretty well and were able to adapt quickly. You talked about Derby's one in the garage. You talked about luck falling your way. But what about being able to adapt to what's going on around you as busy as the compact field is?
Like we weren't working that well together in my mind because I didn't have steering there right away, and I couldn't get nobody to look at me, it seemed. But I got their attention and got some help, I guess. But yeah, it just seemed like I was sitting in the car forever by myself. But I don't know. It just everybody was doing their own thing, getting their opponents taken care of, and it didn't matter. So just all I had to do was just keep moving around.
Did you guys have assignments, so to say, guys that you were assigned to take out individually, kind of like you got to have a hat on a man when you're playing man-to-man coverage?
No.
Go for it, Mike.
What's that?
Go for it.
I wouldn't say we have anyone assigned to take out. We have a pretty wide field of cars to go after when we're out there, but we basically kind of just feel it out and see who's after us, and we noticed who was after us right away, and we made sure to try our best to take them out, and we stayed together as close as we could.
We saw through the course of the weekend there was two different distinct team formats. There was keep your cars in line and defend your turf. If you're looking for the clinical application of that, watch the limited weld team feature. There's no better execution than we saw all weekend of that. And just gradually picking up more and more of the turf. It was like I likened it to a game of Risk. Mm-hmm. The board game Risk.
Yep.
And then there was other teams that were ready to go behind the enemy lines and use that flurry offense where you just don't know where they're coming from to try and get them off their game. And you guys stayed together for a long time, but you worked from the center out like a boxer or UFC fighter, which is a little bit different strategy, but I liked it. But that did put you in a situation where you could get hit from any side if somebody wasn't watching, and it also put you in a situation where a bad shot could cause another one of your teammates to become disabled. That adaptability was so important through the course of that, being able to be ready to adjust. Was there any surprises for you working that strategy from the middle out?
What was that?
Were you surprised at all working from the middle out, having cars all around you at all times versus trying to stay in a line and work your way across the track and be an offensive unit door to door?
Yeah, it was a little different from last year. Last year we tried to work on that same corner we started in this year, but this year we didn't necessarily get that chance with everybody kind of piling into that corner, and I ended up actually jumping up into the wall there for a second or two, and because we just had to get out of the corner because we were getting trapped and pinned in there.
Sure. The one thing you don't want, regardless of your car class, is to get pinned in anywhere.
No, there's nothing good. Especially those walls look even harder this year. They were coming away from the walls with a lot of damage to the wall side, I noticed.
The walls themselves, when the cars were getting hit into the walls were shorter and more material packed into them tighter. Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, you saw the dirt falling on the trunk lids. That's not atypical for Blizzard Bash. But when the cars were getting hit and shoved into the wall laterally, it looked like that game from The Price is Right where they punch out the paper, these big holes jammed to the wall all over the place, and the varying degrees of bumper height made all these. It was really, really neat to watch as that developed. The wall certainly part of the mystique of Blizzard Bash all the way around. Did you guys? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember necessarily you guys going so far as to try to attempt to get anybody against the walls with a kill shot that puts you at risk of giving up anything in terms of the backside of the cars. Everything seemed to play out pretty smart for you.
I would like to say that it was probably like for us, maybe the thing we have that can do is the back end of those pretty well suited. It wouldn't really matter if they did do a trunk shot on us, because Derek took a 22 in the heat, and his car worked out perfect. And that's how we designed this car to be, is to take a hit, roll up, and not be a hindrance to anything back there at all. So in my mind, I can't see backwards, so I'm just going to back up as fast as I can and hit whatever's back there. That's why I think I hit Jerry wants to be done, and Jerry's still standing in the door, and it's one of them deals where you can't see back there, so why would you care about it?
Right? If you can't see back there, why would you care about it?
Yeah, exactly. That's something I noticed too, and I actually sent a text to you, is I noticed in some of the full-size classes, I don't know if it was luck or if guys are doing something different, but it looked to me like with the full-size cars, a lot more of them, the trunks were folding to within the rear tires and weren't going down, and it was kind of packing. I mean, like they weren't wearing on the tires and they weren't dragging. It looked like they were folded in or bending in a lot better than they had in the past. Like they had more control, or they planned it better or something, and it looked like it was working out better. It was
interesting to see the way that some of the quarter panels were done, and I think that some of that was by design. You know, we saw a couple years ago, I think it was Capital City Carnage, where all the Crown Vic showed up with the built-in taper. Everything was pulled together. Depending on who you talk to, it was how much it was actually pulling together. Yeah, in the back. But I think that there was some of that by design that you wanted it to. Yeah. You didn't see the big ball of metal in the back window on every single car that was coming out of there. A lot of that V-shaped trunk lids. On the Crown Vics, you're seeing that more also with the back bumper turning vertical. The one rail would kind of cross over the other, and the bumper would stay attached, and it would start to stand up in the air. And some of those guys got into trouble with that, because once it finally broke off, it ended up being a pogo stick, and it picked the back end up off the ground.
It was neat. There was definitely,
unless you do it Ryan Durham style, and that's the frame rail that digs in underneath.
2 years in a row. Isn't that impressive? He could do that the exact same way. As you guys were mentioned, who did that last year? I was sending you a text, and then shortly thereafter, somebody said it was Ryan, but
everybody told us it was Ryan.
Yeah, he gets his money's worth out of those wagons.
You guys going to be sticking with the same car choices for next year? Because I imagine you have to come back and defend this.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to be changing off a real drive.
Can't blame me there.
It was funny.
This is kind of the hardest car I've ever built in its sense, so I think I just make it better.
We've touched on it. Who would have ever thought a Camaro or a Trans Am would be a demolition derby car?
Did you see the 67 or 68 Firebird? It was on the A2Z team. It was Andrew Johannes had it. And it was 67 or 68 Firebird. That was a pretty nice piece.
No, he didn't. I had to work during the day, so I didn't see Saturday's first show. And then Sunday, I had to work, so we ended up just watching we didn't watch the whole thing. I missed part of it. So,
well, you got to go back and watch it.
I got the free pass thing for like 2 months.
I actually want to see what that car would have done if he would have been able to take a few shots and make a few shots.
It would have been fun. Yes, it definitely would have been fun to see what that car could do. It struggled a little bit, and I think it was just a struggle for that car all around. It was no knocking on Johannes or anybody like that. But I hope they bring it back, because it's going to be a fun one to see. Take a tour of duty.
Yeah. No doubt.
Is there anything that we missed? I mean, coming away with the win, it was a pretty spectacular one. It's nice to double up, Nate, and take Capital City Carnage and Blizzard Bash in the same year. You got a good team together, so I anticipate you guys are going to be back again next fall and fall of 2020, and it's never too early to look forward to the fall of 2020, I suppose.
If we know it.
What's next for you guys?
I'm gonna take a break here, do some capital, and then I'm gonna just run the crap I have.
Right. You got some cars starting to pile up.
I'm gonna go run my pink Camry at Winter Slam.
Nice. Nice. A couple of the Kansan were up there at Blizzard Bash this year.
Cool.
Remember seeing them
Yep.
knocking guys around in the compact side at Winter Slams. It was good to see those guys. That was cool. And crashing for Kyle on Tig Redenius on his car. He had the Ford Taurus wagon. That was cool. I bumped into those guys when they were talking with Jason Brodzinski in the vendors area, and he'd already colored the car up like Jason's wagon.
Cool.
That ended up not running ultimately, unfortunately. But Jason signed it and gave him some swag and stuff. It was
That's
cool.
awesome.
He was having a real good weekend.
Cool.
That was cool. It was very cool. Well, guys, congratulations. Is there anybody else that you wanted to make mention of? I hear your coolers were real good.
Yeah, there was a lot of people out there that had them. Even in Vegas last week, a lot of the guys out there had them. It seemed to be working pretty good.
Awesome. Anybody else that you want to note?
Well, I'd personally like to thank Jeffy's Fab Farm. He sent me some last-minute parts, and I threw some stickers on my car for him, and they represented it pretty well. Muse hooks us all up as a team. If we need something, he always makes sure we get it pretty much next day.
Yeah, just hand coolers, obviously, I would like to say.
Right.
You know, Mike put a really good cooler in my car.
That was the special one?
Yeah. And it's very fancy that's made for those manual transmissions.
Very good guy as
We
well.
all got our suppliers, and they all hooked us up good.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever won at
Oh,
the Stormont Valley Event Center without being a team effort.
True. Very true.
Well, guys, I appreciate you making some time for us and coming on the air tonight. It was good that we could get everybody on at the same time, and you guys get to share that win just like you shared the effort on the track. Congratulations on it for sure, and we look forward to catching up with you again when we get out there in March.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Nice job, guys.
We'll see you later. I got a note from those guys that are having some trouble hearing us, and we tried.
I think the 4 was probably a little too much.
Yep. Well, we gave it a try.
We did.
We used the same technology from 1999. Piggy-tailing, daisy-chaining a bunch of calls together and trying to make a conference call out of it. Apologize if you couldn't hear everything that they were saying, but nonetheless, all due credit out to Minnesota Madness, Jared Fisher, Nate Middendorf, Mike Cook, Andy Oxa on that one. It was an awesome effort. We're going to turn around next week, and we're going to have some of the other team winners on the air. We're going to move into the limited weld side of things with Caddy Nation, if we can get any of them on. I'm sure we'll be able to get Teddy. We'll probably get Rob, Trey. He'll just kind of hang back. He doesn't want it.
Trey's pretty quiet.
And we'll try to get them and the qualifying side of things. Maybe we can catch up with some of the folks from Heavy D and Busch Light on that one. And then we're going to hopefully have in studio some of the members of the winning team from New York, from out there at the Sin City Showdown. It ended up being a 2-day show, so we'll have to see what we get. That might end up bridging into 2 weeks too. Mm-hmm. There's just too much going on this time of year. In November, it's supposed to slow down. We're supposed to be worrying about killing deer and half-hour shows, right?
Yeah, killing deer and half-hour shows, and we aren't doing either one of them.
No. Nope, not at all. I was trying to.
And then isn't there one more indoor derby this year?
Winter Warzone.
Yes.
Winter Warzone 3. I believe it's December 2nd in White Pine, Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we got that
Got that coming up.
And I saw. Did you see?
We forgot the Tiger Memorial's coming up still too.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot about Tim Tiger Memorial. That's next weekend. Yeah, weekend of Thanksgiving, right?
I think it's the week of Thanksgiving.
Is it?
Yeah.
Also, I believe I saw the date for the swap meet at Paradise that the Ellisons put on. I think it's February 28th or maybe 29th. If this is a leap year, it might be the 29th.
Okay.
So they're putting on the swap meet again.
That we got a little bit of time on.
A little bit.
a finite amount of time.
Fine. And we're probably cutting wood for it already.
I mean, by the time we start worrying about that, we're going to be talking about what's happening at Winter Slam, too.
No kidding.
If you can believe that. This weekend, for the first time, I'm excited to have Ed Brewster back up to town. The RC Derby is going to be happening as part of the RC extravaganza at the Northeast Racing Products Trade Show up in Syracuse. So that's kind of cool.
Really?
Yep. Expanding their RC endeavors.
Cool.
It's nice to start in the fall. Everybody's sort of detuned. It's been a little while since we had anything going on, so hopefully people turn out for that. The Bud Boss is obviously the home of dirt modifieds is where we're at right now. And going back to Syracuse, it's always special. They get to run on the concrete, so we'll see those cars out there. And then in an adjacent area, they'll have the RC Derby.
You taking anything up?
A track. I got way too much stuff going on. After everything melted down, I was pretty dejected at the fair. When the car was about to catch on fire and Kelsey didn't get to drive, I took all that stuff, put it in a basket, and put it in the basement. Done.
Leave it there,
Done for a while.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yep.
I've had full-size stuff do that before, and I did pretty much the same thing.
Man.
It's not fun.
The thing that was the worst, right? The worst out of all of that is Dave Early. God love him. Turns on and says, does she want to drive the car, right? And stop me if I'm boring you. And she said no. She's like, no, it's cool. I'm good. She sat up in the stands, and my wife leaned over and said, so why don't you want to drive the car? At least he gets to drive. And she said, well, if I drive it, then he won't have anything to drive.
Oh,
Like, come on.
she is the sweetest little girl.
It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yes, she is. That's amazing.
I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, we've done one thing right.
Well, Alan's turning out pretty good too. You might have done two.
What's that?
So Alan's doing all right.
He's doing just fine.
Yeah, you might have done two things.
Forgot his homework at school tonight, though. Capital City Carnage coming up March 6th and 7th, 2020. We were working our way through the balance of this calendar and the beginning of next year's, and this is certainly part of it. Capital City Carnage, $10,000 to win for the limited welds, maximum 50 cars, $2,500 Mad Dog there. Two-man extreme class, $10,000 to win, $2,500 Mad Dog Awards, 50-car limit on that one. New this year, a couple of the divisions from Domination Motorsports, the front-wheel drive Hobo Stock, and the Weld Street Stock divisions both being added on the card as well. Weld Compacts and the Modifieds. All of those four classes, 25-car limits, $2,500 to win, and they're paying back through the top five according to the telltale ad that is on the back of my program. 1, 2, 3. Well, I already made a mistake there. That's supposed to be back through the top four. Why don't we make sure that we have that correct, just so that nobody comes back.
Can you imagine two-man extreme, $10,000 to win? Who would have ever thought? How awesome is that?
There you go, paying back through the top four. $10,000 to win. That means you got to split $5,000. It's probably going to be better to win that limited weld. That way you keep all $10,000 for yourself.
I'd be happy with 5. I'm not greedy.
No,
I'd take 5.
when was the last time you had $5,000?
What's the date today? Stranger things have happened. Chris, what number is this? You didn't tell us in the beginning.
297. 297. Inching closer and closer. We may still be doing Blizzard Bash coverage and Vegas coverage by the time we get to 300.
We could.
I think last year we had Sean McCollum on about this time, and he's working with that. He's working with that White Pine show, so maybe we'll try and get him on the air. Big thanks to everybody that made the Blizzard Bash production possible. It was a ton of fun being back out there. George Heinout was on the TriCaster. Tony Stevens, Chris Grainer, Frosty was on the soundboard, and then got to work with Steve Bucknam again, Steve at Derby Nation. So that was a lot of fun to get out there. Nate Ober was doing all the editing and getting all the videos pieces uploaded. I got to do some video work on my own, and I realized how rusty I was at it when I took the camera over to the RC facility without the memory card in it. I had to go back. It was only 4 blocks, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I drove by myself like a big boy without dying. I'd like to have you know.
It's amazing. I'm proud of you.
But yeah, I mean, we were able to do a little bit of coverage there on the RC Derby as well, since that's moved off-site.
Yep, I see Leon was doing some stuff with
Leon
it.
and Brad, the Slayer Wit, which was cool.
Cool.
Yeah, halfway through our Blizzard Bash coverage, we're going to shift gears and talk with some of the folks from the Limited World and qualifying side next week. We're going to have hopefully, we're going to have some of the drivers up from the Sin City Showdown, put a little bit of coverage into that, and cover that as well next week. So 298 going to be a busy one, just as this one was. And again, apologize to anybody who had some trouble hearing. We tried to do the best we could on that one, and it sounds like 4 might have been too many. We could have broke that up some too, I suppose. But we tried. We tried nonetheless. And again, there were some folks that were upset with some of the coverage, and just to finalize and make sure we cover that. I don't think I went out there with the intention of hurting anybody's feelings in terms of the coverage out there at Blizzard Bash. And if we didn't do as good a job, I'll take those notes and try to do better next time. Why are you rolling your eyes?
No reason.
There's some folks that felt I was unfair, but it is what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Marquardt.
Yeah.
I'm Brian Tompkins. See you next week.
We'll do it again next time. We'll see you then.
The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.